Hello, and welcome. We haven't done this in a while, but we're back with Screwjob Effect. I am, of course, Chef Mike. We got Dan back. Dan doesn't want to be seen today. He wants to be seen and barely heard. Not seen and barely heard.
Yeah, I'm still a little bit on the sicker end. I've been sick since last week, so I'm kind of... So if I don't sound the greatest, or if for some reason I have to cough in the middle, well, I'm very sorry. But still always fun to be here. Always fun to do this, so yeah.
Well, we had some interesting matches. One we actually entirely forgot about because it's been months.
Yes.
So we won't be able to do that with today because I already forgot entirely.
Yeah, I forgot most of it.
Rumble 2015. I remember it not having any star power and it was boring as fuck. I remember that was also one of the ones that Roman had a lot of naps in.
Yeah, and the winner, and obviously Roman being the winner was not...
That's all I really remember.
Was not the right choice, but anyway...
We went. There was another not very good, also kind of boring match that we watched though. So I guess we'll get right into the first one, just so we have this. We do a live recording of this, then I cut it and put it on the YouTube, so everyone can see it later on. We'll start off with one that I saw on a recommended list on several people's. Kronik versus Brothers of Destruction, Unforgiven 2001. Now, Dan, what do you remember of this match?
I frankly, there isn't a lot to remember in this match. It went longer than I thought it did originally. I think it went like nearly 15 minutes, didn't it?
Yeah, it's surprisingly long considering it wasn't great.
It was not great. Obviously, it's on this list, but it. You know, you would think, judging by the lineup here, that this match would be solid at the very least. Like Kane and Undertaker, they're two of the best of all time. Kronik, really, they're not awful. You would think they're not that awful. It's Bryan Adams and Brian Clark, and not too bad.
You would hope.
You would hope that these four could put on a good match, but the match sucked. And not because of Kane and Undertaker.
Keep going.
It seemed that I don't know. To me, it seemed like Kronik had no idea what they were even doing there, and they just kind of.
I saw in certain parts of the match, you literally see a visibly upset Undertaker yelling at. You literally saw him yelling at Bryan Adams.
And Bryan Adams was a friend of his, a good.
They
friend
both were friends of his.
Both Bryan Adams and Brian Clark were both good friends of the Undertaker.
They're part of that weird. They're like two of the guys that played like dominoes with that group or whatever.
The Bone Street.
Yeah, they're part of his like buddies. There was like a big group of them that Taker was like friends
the
with.
Three of them. They had like Yokozuna, The Godfather. Well,
Paul Bearer.
There's
a bunch of them.
Yeah, Savio Vega, I think.
Yeah,
part of that too, yeah.
Who Undertaker says is like secretly one of the toughest men he's ever met.
Savio?
Yeah.
Really? That's
yeah. Different. Apparently outside the ring, like him and Haku are like scary dudes in real life.
All right. Well,
I believe Haku.
I don't really believe Savio Vega, but hey, I mean, who knows?
Taker would know, man.
Taker would know.
But yeah, like these are his friends. Like Taker, like apparently there was a thing where Vince McMahon didn't want to bring these guys back at all. And Taker spoke up for them, and then they gave him this push, and after this. They were sent back to training. One refused to go and quit.
Which one was that?
I forgot which one. It doesn't matter.
It really doesn't.
The other one went back to Deep South Wrestling and just never really came back up again.
Didn't one of them make TNA appearances?
Didn't
Brian Adams make TNA appearances?
I think he did, yeah. He did better than the Harris twins did in TNA.
Well, a lot of people do better than the Harris twins.
Hey,
anywhere, but...
I'm watching Old Asylum Days TNA, and I'll have you know, Ron and Don Harris are great in that. No, Don Harris is head of security, and Ron Harris is a singles competitor.
They were literally their last major gimmick in WCW was the powers that be. They were called Creative Control.
Oh yeah,
they were bodyguards for Vince Russo, and they were called Gerald and Patrick.
Oh, I wonder who this is not to. Oh.
Yes. Yeah, no. Of course.
But the match itself is like, I felt like Bryan Adams and Brian Clark were missing a lot of their spots, a lot of their cues. There was some, like, the boots, some of the big boots were like, I think it was like Adams had like a really shitty big boot. Kane had a fucked up one too because he just missed the cue on that. Like, as soon as one guy misses the cue, all four of them seemed like they completely lost it.
And yeah, there was, as you were saying, there were some times that the Undertaker, who's usually, like, you could see him getting quite visibly angry at his opponents because they weren't getting into the right spots. It felt like Adams and Clark just kind of phoned it in throughout the entire match, and you just got an overall bore fest that really didn't amount to anything.
And they had at least 2 matches against each other too.
They did. They fought in a. I thought they only fought once because the other match was DDP and Canyon, wasn't it?
No, they had another. They had another one with these 4 guys involved, and that should have been all they needed to know. Like, hey, this is not good.
Right, because this was around the same time that Taker was feuding with DDP.
Yes,
which could have made DDP's WWE career.
Oh my god,
easily could have made him. But
that's another list, wasted potential list. Like,
they could have. And going off of this, they could have made that DDP stalker thing. They could have made it into something good.
They could have.
But they literally let Undertaker's wife, who was not a wrestler, this was his second wife, I think.
It wasn't Michelle McCool.
It was not Michelle McCool. Her name was Sarah.
It would have made more sense if it was Michelle McCool.
Right. But, well, it was I think her name was Sarah.
Her name was Sarah. She was tattooed on his neck until he got it covered.
Yes, he did. But DDP literally got pinned by a non-wrestling, and I'm sorry this sounds sexist, but a non-wrestling female.
Which at the time
did not happen.
At the time, if you weren't China, that wasn't going to happen for you.
No. China, or if you want to go this route with WCW, Medusa.
Yes.
Medusa did that a lot in WCW. Because she was like the only female wrestler on the roster.
And she was like pretty sizable for a woman.
Yeah, she was tall. She was muscular. Like
she would have been like, I would say she'd be kind of like Rhea, where she's like not super tall, but she's big.
Yeah, like in the sense where she's built, she's muscular.
Yeah, like kind of like Rhea Ripley is now. Like Rhea Ripley's just really fucking built.
Yeah. Like whereas like Rhea Ripley like today could probably take on half the men's roster. And
give
them a solid
the current men's roster. We had this discussion last night where it's like you were surprised that Edge was the same height as somebody else, and you're
Damian
like,
Priest.
Yeah, and you're like, no way. I'm like, yeah, Priest just looks taller because all the wrestlers are shorter now.
Priest looks like he's like Undertaker's height.
He's shorter
to everybody else.
He's shorter than Undertaker,
and he's like 6 inches shorter than the Undertaker.
It's just because Finn Balor's like 5'10".
Yeah. And JD McDonough is probably even shorter than that.
I think he's like 5'8", 5'9", and then you got Mysterio, who's only like 5'9".
Yeah.
Which is still taller than his dad, to be fair.
Ray was like 5'6".
Yeah, Ray was super... Ray's the smallest person in his family.
Yeah.
His wife's taller than him.
His daughter's taller than him, too. But anyway, back to this. It's kind of just... It's very clear that these 4 have absolutely no chemistry together. Or the 2 teams, anyway, because obviously Taker and Kane had a lot of chemistry teaming up together.
Not against each other, though.
Not against each other, but that's, like... Because I always found, like, the storylines for all of their rivalries were absolutely top-notch.
But their matches just never...
Their matches never clicked.
I think it's just because they're both slow, lumbering dudes.
And neither of them can carry a match.
No, they're not...
They're not
as great as Undertaker
generals.
is, he's not a ring general. We've seen that, especially in his later career where he was kind of out of it. And he needed a CM Punk. He needed an AJ Styles.
Like look at his best WrestleMania matches. They're all against guys that could carry a match. Like Shawn Michaels, Triple H, as you said, Punk. AJ
Shawn Michaels
Styles.
could do like the cerebral game more than anything else, and it was perfect. AJ Styles and that cinematic, like AJ and the Good Brothers sold the shit out of it.
Oh, they did.
Bray Wyatt again carried Undertaker through a lot of that.
I mean, even that match was forgettable, but
because Bray also can't really carry. He couldn't really carry either.
No, and at that
he's
point,
all character work.
And at that point, Bray hadn't really evolved into the
not the iconic stats he became.
Like if it was like Fiend versus Prime Undertaker would have been absolutely insane.
Yeah, and it's sad that we've never really got that.
And we never will, obviously.
And we never will.
But
so now we have to look at our rankings. We have right now the worst match of all time is Caitlyn versus Maxine. Is this match worse than that match?
No, I don't think so. Not even close.
How about AJ versus Cameron?
It's better than that too.
Is it still better than Hulk Hogan versus Ric Flair, the Yappa Pie strap match?
I think it is solely because we actually got an okay finish, and we also didn't. We actually got some wrestling moves, whereas Hogan and Flair just chops, eye rakes, like low blows, bad looking punches.
Oh, from two guys that shouldn't be going. He shouldn't have gone.
Pinned him in a strap match. Like,
no, he did the strap thing too. He just double winned. Remember, he double winned. He got the pinfall victory, and then he hit the things. He double winned.
He won twice.
That works for me, brother.
He killed two birds with one stone. Like,
most strap matches are pretty terrible. I think Punk kind of redeemed that a lot recently.
Yeah,
Punk and Drew really redeemed that recently.
The only other strap match I remember being even remotely decent was Triple H and The Rock.
Oh yeah,
but even that one ended with interference from Billy Gunn.
Yeah, and like
that, which led to Rock burying.
Usually, a dog collar match is better than a strap match.
Yeah, that MJF and Punk one was insane.
Cody Rhodes versus Brody Lee.
Oh my God, yeah, that's right.
That was Brody Lee's last match.
Yeah, that's right.
Brody Lee's last match was that dog collar match
with Cody. That was a good match too.
It was very good.
But
so is it better than Uncle Elmer versus Adrian Adonis?
You see, you know I have a soft spot for that match. I have a soft spot for that match just because of not Uncle Elmer, Adrian Adonis' selling. So, but no, I'd say it's at least better than that too. It's probably up there with one of the better ones we've seen, unfortunately.
Okay, so is it better than Roddy Piper and Mr. T? Which is our fifth best match.
Okay, yeah, probably.
Is it better than Pat McAfee versus Vince McMahon, who won via football kicking? So it's better than all these so far, right?
I think so, yeah. I think it's better than McAfee and McMahon.
Is it better than the chamber match for ECW?
No. That's, I think, where we cut.
Okay, so it's now the sixth worst one we have, basically.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna put that as the new number 6. Now we'll reorganize it after once we get through more of them. So yeah, I would say like the main thing was like the main takeaway for me is that like these were two friends of Taker's that just didn't gel.
It didn't click. It was just.
How would you star rating for you out of 5?
Now, what did I rate the ECW chamber match?
2.
I'm gonna give it a.
I'd say probably 1 or 2.
I'll give it a 1 point. I'll give it a 1 3/4. Give me 1.75.
1.75. Not quite a 2.
Not quite a 2.
And that's because mostly Undertaker and Kane were not the worst parties in that.
No, I don't think so. I think it was just kind of.
Now, the next one coming up